Hello there, I'm AYB, founder of Spark AI, where we help businesses automate their process and implement AI in their workflows. Today, we're looking at Zapier Table. We're going to look at what exactly is Zapier Table, what are the features of Zapier Table, and then we're going to look at an example build using Zapier Table, and then we'll see how we can expand the functionality of Zapier Table with the help of ChatGPT. And then we'll see an example build with a startup called Eurohive. And we're going to build a workflow, and let's jump straight into it. So the first thing we want to see is so I want to show you this particular workflow I built. So the first thing is I want to show you exactly how Zapier tables look like. So you come over to zapier.com, and then you can just put tables.zapier.com if you actually want to do that. Or you can just go to zapier.com, their homepage, right? And then you can navigate to the table section right there. So first thing you want to do get is to click on create, right? If you come over to this particular place here and then you click on tables, right, you will be prompted to come to this page here. It's like a blank page where you can either choose from using a template or importing data, right? So I just want to build from scratch, right? And I just call this more like an example build, right? And I can create the table, right? I've just created the table right now, and then it's still loading, right? Let's wait for it to load. So this, I just want to show you the functionalities of this table, right? So we have Copilot here, and the usefulness of Copilot is this. So I can just say create a field for name, email, lead source. So I might not want to like create all of these fields by myself with lead source with the option, the options of Facebook, YouTube. I can also actually put YouTube. I can put website. I can also put LinkedIn, and then I can put Insta, right? So Insta. So it creates this field for me instead of me trying to like build this particular stuff from scratch. I can just leverage AI to actually do that. So it's going to, one thing I like about it is like to confirm. So it's going to confirm that okay, I want this to be a text field, I want this to be an email, and then I want this to be a an actually drop down, which is exactly what I want. So if I click on approve or confirm, it's just going to create those fields for me. So instead of me trying to like start from scratch and like trying to do all those kind of stuff, so I have a place where I have the name, so I can let's try to create a record right now. So I can come over here. Let me see if I can create a record. So let's add the record. So if I come over here and I just type IO, my name, right, and then I can put my email at gmail.com, and then we have lead source can be Facebook, any of Facebook, YouTube, or stuff like that. So this is one way. So we can also add some other field. We have formula field, we have AI field. So this AI field is a field that we're actually going to look at. This AI field is just more like we can just say something like example. Let's say we just want to say example, and then yeah. So in this particular field, we can actually create a prompt. Right, you can write the prompt from scratch, and then we can put the prompt here, and then it will based on what you can choose some variables, right? From the you can choose the length, you can choose the variable from each step, and like you can see the name of the person, the source, right? You can choose, so you can just say like I did something like this, so I just want to do it again. So I'll say VIP or not. That's exactly what I'm going to do, VIP, right? So if I come over here and create prompt, I'll say I want to um I want to create, just say, just I just want to write the prompt. Sometimes I usually use ChatGPT to write most of my prompts, because I ChatGPT tends to be better writing prompts, and then I just have to like copy from there. And then let me see if I still have the prompt with me. I am not sure I have it here again. Format text, e-commerce brand name. I really don't have that prompt here. I would have like showed you exactly how I write the prompt. But nevertheless, if you go back, we can just type exactly what we want here and then done. And then whenever a field is created, it runs the AI field and gets the response. So let me show you an example of that in what I built. So we have a particular CRM. We have a build here, right? This is the first build that we have here. So I've built the tables right now. I'm going to show you exactly what I did and why Zapier Table is very, very cool and chill is because you can actually link it to a Zap, right? Every cell in this particular table can actually be a trigger for an action, right? Which is very, very chill. So this is this important base I have here. I get the contact name, the email, the lead source, the deal type. Then we have company, and then we have VIP clients, and then we have VIP client ChatGPT. So this is this is an AI field. If you can see here, you see there is an AI field, right? And I'll show you exactly how the constituents. So I wrote a prompt. I said we are an AI automation agency called Spaghetti. We receive leads from forms. You are given a form field called how did you hear about us, with the options Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, website, and YouTube. And now, and I said how did you hear about us, and I put the variable. I told you that you can actually put a variable, and that would be this, right? Just put that variable in a parenthesis, and that's it. And I'll say if the response is LinkedIn, output yes, and if the response is any other option but output no, only output yes or no and nothing else. So this is the prompt. So what I want to do is that whenever I create a particular contact and the person is I actually choose LinkedIn, the person this VIP for the AI field will tell me if the person, based on the fact that if the person chose LinkedIn, the person will be a VIP client, and the person does not choose LinkedIn, the person will not be a VIP client. So let's try this automation. I'm going to fill this form again. I'm trying to find a text field that is not here. Yeah, so let's use Mark Andreessen. So if I come back to this contact, this is like the contact form of my stuff. So if I put Mark and I just hope I get this Andreessen very well. I think it's Andreessen. Come on, like Andreessen. Yeah, I think he's the co-founder of A16Z co-founders. I think he's Ben Horowitz and Mark Andreessen. I just want to get the name correctly. Okay. Yeah, so you can see them. Andreessen founder is Mark Andreessen. So it's Mark Andreessen. Yeah, I think yeah, Andreessen. So now we can just put Mark at a16z .com, and then I just put a16z. So let's say he's interested in this, and then now remember, if you choose LinkedIn, it's going to give them VIP yes, right? So I want to choose something that's not LinkedIn so that we can test that and then test that of LinkedIn. So if I submit this form here, a particular stuff will be created right here, and then we'll have Andreessen. So just a minute, we're going to see Andreessen right here pop up right below. Yeah, some automatic. As you can see, YouTube, no, right? Now this is the no. Let's try to do another one, but this time we want to use Ben, right? So let's use Ben Horowitz. Also, I might get that. I think I got that. Yeah, Horowitz, right? And then let's use Ben at a16z.com, right? So let's say a16z. So let's say interested. Now we're going to choose LinkedIn. Then if you check this particular form now, it will populate right below Mark, right? Ben Andreessen, Ben Horowitz, and it's going to give me yes, right? Because it's a LinkedIn lead, right? So I will get a yes. I'm still waiting for it to populate, just some seconds. It doesn't take long. Yeah, so Ben is right here, right? And you can see yes. Now I'm going to show you exactly how I got this. This is for the AI field, but you can see something like the same thing, but this is for the ChatGPT's field. So what I did is that I connected this step to a Zap, right? So instead of using an AI field right inside of the table, I created an AI field outside of the table in form of a Zap. So let's see exactly what I did. So I come over here. First thing is that when a form is submitted, like this, this is like the workflow that gets people into the system. So this is exactly how it looks like. Whenever a workflow is submitted, let me see if I can edit this particular stuff so that I can see it. Okay, so whenever a workflow is submitted, just a minute. Now you see the field, the stuff is called mini-CRM. As you can see, the stuff is called mini-CRM, right? And then I'm putting the name, the email, and then the lead source, the deal type, right? And then you can see the company. And now I'm doing something quite different. Nothing is actually here, right? Nothing is here. But after the record has been created, I have another field, right? So this field, now this is after the record has been created, right? I do not have a way to verify if the person is a leak. I can actually merge the two of them into one workflow, but I'm not doing that. So I want to, once a record has been found, right, I have a step here, a ChatGPT step. Let me show you exactly how the ChatGPT step looks like. So the ChatGPT step is now look at the prompt I have there. Your job is to classify new leads into VIP, not using the same prompt I have in the AI field, right? In the particular stuff is what I just copy and paste here, right? So I now put the value of the how did you hear about us here, and then I instructed it that I want it to give me either yes or no, and then if the answer is nothing else than LinkedIn, then give me no, and then I gave it the memory key and all that, right? So after it has done that, it will update this field, right? Now remember, we are picking out new record, so it gets the ID of that record, right? As you can see, if you can check, you see that once a new record is found, there will be an ID. So I just plug the ID here, right? So I'm not updating anything, I'm just updating the ChatGPT step. So I put the ChatGPT step here, and I mean the value of the chat, the results we got, that's this one, and I put the message content text, right? The somewhere here, just put it here, and I get that particular response, right? So if I come over to my field right here, that's where if I fill that in, right, the same response we're getting. So this is more of like, if you want to use the AI field that is inside of Zapier table, you can actually connect a Zap to it and it will still work the same way, right? So that's the first workflow we are looking at. It's pretty simple, pretty basic. There's not so much brouhaha, or there's not so much there's no noise, right? So it's easy and very easy to implement, right? The next one is quite complex, right? But we're going to build it step by step, right? So we have a couple of workflows here, right? And I'm going to have to explain a lot of things. So I want you to take note, take your pen, or look for something to write down, or just watch closely some things I'm going to do here, right? I am going to use an assistant. I'm going to create an assistant, and then I'll write a prompt for that assistant, and then we will build quite a very lengthy workflow. Right now we'll build a lengthy workflow. Right after that, then you're going to see how everything just comes together, right? So the first thing I want to do is to go over to build the assistant. So this is where you come over to your platform.openai.com, and then you create an assistant, right? Then next thing you want to do is to put the name, right? And then put some set of instructions. Like I said, I don't write this prompt myself. All I need to do is just to explain what I want to do, right? So I get ChatGPT to write the prompt for me exactly the way I want. So I said you're an Eurohive AI support assistant. So Eurohive is a company, a startup based in Europe, and they are specifically in Prague, and they do shipping of products outside and within the European Union or Europe, right? And what we do is that we have a couple of products that they sell, and we want to have like a knowledge base for all of those products, so that people can know shipping time, you can know the shipping cost, and they can know the price of each product, their social media handles. Those are like things that we added to the knowledge base. So after I did that, I give some set of instructions, like, and when a customer asks a question, don't answer for yourself, just use check from the knowledge base. And also, if any relevant answer exists, respond with a friendly and professional tone. Don't be harsh on the customer. And then I drop the email, the phone, and I dropped some call to action, and I gave some examples, more of like a few short prompting, right? I think this is about few short. I added like two examples so that it can understand how to like respond. And I also added this very important stuff, that don't add apostrophe to your answer, which I know it will still make mistake about that and all that, but we are going to solve that issue, right? So the next thing I will do is that I'm going to add what I call the vector file. So the vector file is a document, a .docx, right? Please don't use just a .doc, a .docx. So I'm going to show you exactly how all of these documents look like. The first one is the Eurohive product details. So this one contains, now this is exactly how the Eurohive product details looks like. So this has the product name and price, right? As you can see, it also have the product name and the shipping fee, right? It also has the product name and the shipping time outside of Europe, and then we have products and short detail about the products, right? So just like a short information about our product. So I uploaded that. Then I also have the short Eurohive FAQ. So if I come over here to check, if I come over to my docs .google.com, I will see the FAQ somewhere around there. Let me see if I have it. I am not sure I have it here in my, let me see if I can get the FAQ right there. No, so I think this is the FAQ right here. So if I come over here, you see, so this is the FAQ, right? You see more of like what is Eurohive? Eurohive is a modern blah blah blah. Where is it located? Prague in Czech Republic, the heart of Europe. And where do you ship internationally? Yes. And then do you offer free shipping? Yes. So if anybody just asks any of these questions, it's going to give us, it's going to pull the answer, right? So I also have a stuff for contacts. So this is more like, this is another document that contains the website, the Facebook URL, and the Instagram handle, the LinkedIn handle, and then a very swift customer support line, right? So those are like the things that we have. So what I did was I added all of these files, right, to the assistant, right? And then we have about 3. And I know you might be asking me that why can't I just add every of these things into just one file? The reason why is because the LLM or the assistant might mistake some of it. If the file is too large, right, it will find it difficult retrieving some information, right? So that's why it's very good to like break down the files into simple formats, simple documents that can be easily read by the assistant, right? If you just have it umbled and jumbled into one document, it will be large, and the assistant will actually make a mistake trying to retrieve any information. So for us to just check if our assistant is working, we can test it using the playground, because this is the playground here. So I want to, so there's nothing here. I'm just coming. So I think I just want to test the playground, right? So let's look for a question that we can ask. So let's say, what payment method do you accept? So let's do something like that. I want to clear the thread. So what payment method do you accept, right? So if you run this particular bad boy, we are going to get it's going to go into the knowledge base and retrieve. As you can see, to retrieve the results, can you see we accept majorly credit, debit cards, PayPal, secure digit wallets, and payment method. If you check that to verify if that's correct, as you can see, it's actually correct, like the way we have it. So you can just, so this is more of like an assistant for your business. If you are looking to build something like this in e-commerce, it's very, very useful. Instead of having to like respond to every of your clients' response of any inquiry they are making about your business, you have it stored in this knowledge base, and then the assistant can always retrieve it based on the question or the inquiry the client or customer is asking for. So after I've built this stuff, this particular assistant, as you can see, you turn on the file search, and then you choose GPT-4 for notes. And if you don't use GPT-4 notes, you might not be able to add files, because this is part of the model that allows for file search. So you have to like add it. So the next thing we actually want to do is still here, and if I come over here to my Yeah, so we have actually built that workflow. So now we're going to build, I'm going to show you how I built this particular database, right? The first thing I want to do is that now I have a form, right? I built this form here on Tally, right? It's pretty easy. Tally is a form builder, and is most likely owned by, but more of like a sister company to Notion, because I think they have tally.so. I more of like a guess, but I can also see that their design is more of like Notion, and I believe they have some affiliation with Notion, right? So I have the form, right, for Eurohive here, right, more of like an order form. If you see this form, it's pretty easy to build. Let me show you. I built this, I use this particular banner, I used Canva to create it, right, to design this. And for as for using this particular text, you can click on customize, and like I added the I used a pin, a color picker to actually pick the color, right, of this particular stuff. You see, I can pick the color of trying to pick the color of this particular, yes, this color, and then I can just copy that color and paste it right here, right? So that's one way I got this color, right? Another thing is that I also want to like, after I did that, I also want to add more of like a theme to the entire form. I added emojis, and then now this includes all of the 10 products that we offer, right? I used it more of like in a drop down, right? And I made it required all of the product and the price, right? And I also did something like I added the shipping region within and outside. Then there's another field that I added here, which is called the recipient or respondent country, right? So this is, the person is not going to, the person filling the form is not going to see it, but you are going to be able to retrieve that information. You might actually use it for anything you want to use it for. So, and I added the button place order. That's exactly what I did, and this is exactly how the form looks like. So when this form is filled, we have a database, right? So all of the details come into this particular place right here, where we have the name, the email, the shipping region, right? You see, and then we have something called the product order. So the product order is more of like a multi-select field, and you can see another as another field here called the customer ID. Why am I having something like customer ID, right? So a customer ID is one way I want to add a particular set of alphanumeric character to a customer, more of like a profile ID, so that the customer can have a particular ID attached to them. So if I want to retrieve that customer, I want to like relate with that customer later on, I can I can do that. I can have access to all of their chats, all of the inquiries they've had with us, more of like just giving a person in your database a unique identifier. That's what I'm doing. So that's exactly what we are doing. So whenever that form is filled, the person will get a customer ID. So let me show you exactly how the workflow looks like. So now, if now this is the first workflow, right? Whenever the person fills a form. So if you see this, like I said, this tally form is connected. You can see the Eurohive order form, right? Now, but there is something I want to call your attention to, that when I was setting up this workflow, it took me hours to find out, but I will be sharing with you and saving you a lot of time, right? So that when you are setting up this workflow, you don't make the mistake I made, right? So what happened is that when I was building this workflow, as you can see here, I was finding it difficult to actually pull in all of these um, fields. Like, it's a multi-select field, right? It's not just one. You can see you can choose many, like all of the products, like if you like, right? So I was finding it difficult to pull in all of these particular product into this place. It was just giving me, I was just able to pull in like one, or it might not even pull in anything right at all. And I was so disturbed. So one thing I figured out was the it's coming in as a multi-select field, right? And is more of like a line item, right? It's not a line item. It looks like a line item. But one thing I did, what I used was I used formatter, right? First, I use formatter to split the text, right? Because they are separated with comma, right? So I split the text with comma, and then I want it to be more to be in a line item, right? Note, not separate fields, line item, not separate fields, line. As you can see, the stuff I'm choosing here is separate all as line items, right? So when I did that, so I have every one of them as line items, right? And then the next thing I want to do is that I used something called a lookup table. If you don't know how to use a lookup table, you can watch my video on how to use a lookup table, right? I'll reference it at the end of the video, right? So you can see how to use, this is a lookup table. Now, as you see here, I put in the fields that I've converted, right? And now I added more of like, okay, you can tell me, okay, how did I get this lookup value? This is just the same. Okay, wait, just chill, follow me, I'll tell you what I did here. So if I come over to this last step here, so every particular, if you check this particular stuff here, every one of these products, they have a code, an ID, right? So this ID can be in numbers, or it can actually be exactly in letters, like the exact word. But for Zapier table, it actually has it in exact words. That's exactly why it is like this. Now, if I show you, if you come over to this step, you see if I switch, if I can you see this, right? That the ID is still the same as the title or the name of that particular stuff. So what I did was that I picked up all these things and then I mapped it to each other. What you are doing is that, okay, you are picking up a value and then you are transforming this value from this, right, the ID, into something else, or you can convert it from the, yeah. So what the table does is that it's more of like, this is a standard table. It looks like, okay, whenever I see check something something, I want to convert it to this. So it's very good if you want to actually, if you are taking a form input, right, and then you want to convert it into an ID. That's why. So this is, let's look at this as the ID. So this is the input of the form, or what we are taking in, right? So we are taking this in, we are converting it to this. This is the ID that we saw right now. So after that, that was like that, and we want to create a message ID or a conversation, more of like a profile. So there's a particular step called, we have here, we call the conversation with assistants, right? Now we choose what assistants are we talking about. So we put the message, the reason why we are doing this is that we just want to get the message ID first. That's it, right? So we are just using this for formalities, not so important. So we are saying we just received a new lead, the name, the email, the product ordered, and the ship region. So we input all of the stuff from the form, right? So the next thing we want to do is to choose the name of the assistant. We are using is Eurohive shopping assistant, and then we didn't actually do any other thing, right? So after that is when we put all of the form inputs, right? You can see the name, then the Washington, the email, and then you can see the shipping region, and also the product ordered. Now the product ordered, we are choosing notes. We use a custom field, right? And then we can now use the value from the output. it works. If you don't use it this way, it will not work. I'm telling you the truth. I'm promising you that it will not work. But if you use it like this, it's actually going to work. So we have the now we added the customer ID, which is like more of like the message ID. It's one of the unique identifier for getting this particular um customer. So after I've done that, this is the workflow for somebody that's just trying to order a product from us, right? So we also have a workflow for somebody that is trying to make an inquiry. Like somebody just wants to make an inquiry about like the same way we checked the platform, the same way we check the platform here. Someone can just send an email to us and say, okay, how much is something like that. So we have a workflow for that also. So let me show you exactly how this workflow is, right? So I'll walk you through every particular. So in this particular, for this particular business, or this startup, we have about 3 solid workflows and we built about 1 table for it, right? So I'm going to walk you through everything. So the first thing is we have a trigger, and the trigger is search words, a keyword. And I'm like, if you actually want to check these search filters, they are easy to find. If you click on this icon, click on search operators, Google actually has a documentation of how you can use this search filter. So you just look at the one you want to use. But the one I actually want to use is I want to search for emails from a particular unique email addresses. So one way you can, this is one way I actually want to do it, but you can actually do it in the sense that, let's say you have a support email where people actually send emails to, and you know that, okay, the only way the emails they are getting from that support emails are inquiry. So you can just add a from of a from and then a colon, and then you put the email there. So you know that all of the response you are getting from that email is an inquiry. So, but the reason why I'm using 3 is because I'm going to be using these 3 as an example in this particular workflow. So I'm going to get sending emails from these particular emails. So any of these emails, if I get a message from them or an email from them, it will trigger this workflow, right? So that's exactly what I did. So what we are doing is, after we get a particular stuff from there, the stuff has been triggered, we're going to use a step called find record. We actually want to find them. What are we finding them with? We are using their email, right? And then we are using, because that the email is the only thing we have right now. So we use this email to search for them, right? We are not creating a record. We just want to search for them if they are in our system. So if in our system, if they do exist in our system, they'll go this path. If they do not exist, they'll go this path. So let me show you the do not exist part. So in the do not exist part, we are actually saying if the Zap status was false, that means they don't exist in our system, right? First, remember in the first workflow, we created a message ID. Now we know that these guys don't exist in our system, so we're also going to create a message ID, right? I said the first message ID we use, the first step is always for formality. We just want to get that. The reason why is because we cannot have access to a message ID unless we have actually used a step. What I'm saying is that for us to, if I come over to this step, for us to actually have a message ID right here, we cannot have a message ID unless we have actually run that step, right? So that's exactly why we did that, right? So if we do, after I've done that, we're not doing anything. We just want to generate the message ID, right? Create a message ID. So the next step is where we can do all of the things. We do the same conversation with assistants, but this time we are putting the inquiry we got from the email, from the first step. That's the trigger. We're just dumping the inquiry here, right? The assistant already know what to do. We are giving it instructions, right? This is another instruction, more of like a pre-processed instruction. This instruction is more of like, I'm trying to, because we don't know so much about these guys, because they send us an email. There's like, they are anonymous. So what I'm trying to say is that try to find out their names using their email, right? That's exactly what this prompt is all about. I'm trying to say if they use their first name and quite a number, then you extract the first name and use that to reference to them later on in the email. And or so I just use that as an example so that the model can be able to do. So another thing I did was that I made reference to some of the files that we used. So this is the files right here. Just click on all of those files, right? Add it there, and we are chill. So the next thing I want to do is, after I've gotten the response for the person, right? There is an issue, and I'm going to show you this particular problem. I did it quite several times, so I'm going to tell you exactly how it looks like. So this is exactly how the form, this is how the response will look like when you get it. It will tell you, okay, hello, blah 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 blah, and then you're going to see something like an asterisk. This one even still better. You're going to see this square bracket, and inside the square bracket is going to mention the source where it's getting the information from. And that's like not professional. I really don't want that, right? You don't want the client to know that they are talking to a bot or something like that. So what you're going to do, so what I did is what I'm going to show you now. I used formatter, right? As you can see, the name of this step is separate first part of the sentence. Now I'm going to show you exactly what I did. So I put the response from the ChatGPT step. Then I separated it to this particular, the left side of the square bracket. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So if you check this particular stuff, this is what I separated it with. So I'm saying once you see this particular stuff, split the sentence into two, right? So that's the separator, and I want you to separate it as separate fields. So this is what it did, right? It separated hello, blah 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 blah, and then it separated the stuff also, the 4 points. You see, can you see? Separated this also, right? Now we are still chill. So after it has done that, so it has separated it into two sentences. The first one, which is very clean, does not have anything like that, and then it separated the second one. Although it has removed the square brackets, but there's still one other square bracket. So that's why we have the second stage. So the second stage is more of like a separate second part of the sentence. So now I put the second part of the sentence, right? Remember, the second part of the sentence is the one that still has that particular stuff. So I'm not saying separate it by the right square bracket. So what it does is that it goes over to, and I want it to be at separate field, it goes over to the stuff and separates it using the left side. So it has this one, and is there any other thing else, right? So it has separated it to two stuff. So now we have about the first one, the middle one that we don't want, and the last one that we want. So we have 1, 2, 3 that we have, 2 that we like and 1 that we don't want to get rid of. So after I've done that, now I created a record. Remember, we want to create a record using the details of these guys that just came to our system, right? Now if you check it now, I reference the name, right, the email, right, as you can see here, the inquiry they made. Now I also did something. I put the ID, and I also put the response they got from the inquiry. You're going to know the reason why I actually did this later on. Now I had the response that they got from the inquiry, right? So in the last step, right, the last step is where we have and this is the email we are sending back to them, right? Remember, they made an inquiry, right? So we are sending this email back to them, and in this email we have something like the subject is here is what you asked, and then the from name is Eurohive, and then we did something like, now you can see how this is very useful. We just plugged in the first value that we separated and the third value. So we have removed the one in between that looks like that is telling them the source of where they got the the source of the response. So we don't have any of that now. So that's how we're able to solve that problem. That's so the first part is for somebody that does not exist in our system. Let's say they exist in our system. We made a random search. We made a search with their email, and they exist, but they still want to get the response to their inquiry, right? So what we're going to do is that instead of creating a message ID, we are not creating another message ID. We're just going to skip that step and come over here, and then we'll plug in the same thing, right? We did plug in the message ID, right? This will be the ID from the previous step, right? And coming. Yes, I'm trying to figure out why. So we put that particular ID here, right? And we'll have something like now. So after I've done that, that's all that we need to do. We are not really doing any other thing like that. And next thing is that we're going to do the same thing that we did here, because we always run into that issue again. If they make that inquiry, we are going to have that square bracket telling them the source where we got the information from. So we want to I just duplicated. This is more like just duplicating this particular step and putting it here. And then now, instead of creating a record, we are updating the record. But what are we updating the record with? We are updating the record with an ID. We just put the record ID here, so it looks for that particular unique ID. And then we are putting the assistance response, right? The response from the assistant. We already have the ID. We already have all of these details because remember they're in our system, right? So what we don't have is this one, right? So that's exactly what we are going to put. So we are not adding any other thing, right? We are just adding this particular stop. I'm trying to make it fit. So let's say we can make it fit here and make it 90 so that it can be visible. So we have it right here. Yeah, I think there's nothing else to do again. There's nothing else to do again. We have actually plugged in all of the things that we want to plug in. We are not adding, although this is not even so needed, but we have it here. So we are done, right? So this is exactly the workflow for somebody that just like made a research or made an inquiry. Now we have another workflow. So I'll walk you through the first workflow for somebody that just ordered the product. This is for someone that made an inquiry. Now we have the third workflow. The third workflow is very, very chill, right? And I'm going to show you exactly how it looks like, right? This is just using the information that we have, right, to our advantage. I'm going to run this workflow and I'm going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Every of the things that I talked about. Now you see, now once a record has been created, now we have a step here. Okay, let me show you. Once the record, the trigger is like once the record is created or updated, right? Because it might be created in the sense that when somebody fills a form or makes an order, that means it's going to be created. It's going to be updated if the person goes through the second path, right? If the person goes through the second path, to be updated. So that's why I'm saying this should always trigger whenever the record is created or updated. And now we have a step here that delays for about. Now I'm delaying here for about 1 minute, but normally this workflow should delay for 1 day because I really don't want to wait for 1 day. That's why I'm like saying I want to delay for 1 minute, right? So the next thing I want to do is this ChatGPT step, one of the most important part of this workflow. So what we are doing is that I put the prompt, you're an assistant that helps generate short, polite, and persuasive follow-up emails, right? To customers 1 day after they have made an inquiry. So they made an inquiry, want to follow up on them if they are interested. No, obviously when they make an inquiry about the product, they actually are interested in that product. So how can we catch them when the entire stuff is still hot? So I put the name. Remember, we retrieved the new updated record. They'll put the name, the shipping region, all of the details that we actually need about them. And in fact, the response of the response of the assistant. The reason why we are doing that is because inside the response of the assistant contain the name of the product that they ordered, right? So I'm saying now I'm giving this guy instruction that if the product ordered is empty, that means if the product ordered is empty, right? If there's no product ordered here, that means they've actually not bought anything from us. They're just making inquiry. But if it is not, usually it's not going to be empty. I mean, the inquiry is not going to be empty. The product order can be empty if they just if it's what they did was just to order, just to make an inquiry. So the product order is not going to be full, but the inquiry is going to contain something. So I mean, it means that the customer is interested in the product they made inquiry about, right? And I'm saying the email should encourage them to continue with the purchasing the product. If the product ordered is not empty, the email should thank them for the order, right? That's like very, very intelligent. And the email must be short, direct, and friendly. Just generate the email body. Do not include their name in the stuff. So I just don't want to include it. I added the memory key, and that was like all for this particular workflow. Very chill. So we have three workflows. One, when they actually make an order. Two is when they made an inquiry. Three is when a day later, when that is just reminding them to buy the product again. So let's see the database that we have. What happens that I created a database, a different database before, for storing all of the persons that um, made an inquiry, right, but have not bought the product, right? But I found out that I just want to show you so that you can see exactly the usefulness of this particular stuff, so you can know how to manipulate your way around this particular. But I found out that the reason why I did that was because I really don't want, because I don't want it to, if I have everything in this particular database and if I store everything here, that means there'll be fields here that will be blank, in the sense that some of them will actually buy the products, some of them will make an inquiry, but they won't have bought the product. So the product order section will be blank. I don't want that way. So that's why I created a separate database. So based on my research, I was able to like, okay, how can I actually make this workflow better? I was not like, okay, I can actually create another view. So in this particular view, so I can have them in that same system, right? But have different views. They will still be there. So I'm saying that, okay, in this particular view, I'm going to have them, the inquiry they make, and the response. Note that this guy does not have, may have not ordered our product. It's not going to show on the main stuff. It's going to show here, right? Because I added a filter. So you can say, okay, it's just like the main step, but I have four fields that are visible: the name, email, the assistant response, and every other things, they are not visible, right? I just want to see these four fields here. But the filter I had was that if the assistant's response is empty, is false, that means it is actually filled. The assistant response is not it's filled with something. That means this means that they have actually made an inquiry. So I just want to see this particular stuff. So now let's go back to the filter I used in the main table. So the filter I used in the main table is that now I hid about two fields. The first field I hid was that I don't want to show the assistant response, right? Because not all of them here would have an assistant response, because most of them they will order a product, but they've not made inquiry. So the assistant response will be blank for a lot of people. I really don't like a very, very scattered, or more of like a scanty work, or a scanty database. Like I want it to be full and then organized, right? So I really don't want to show the assistant response, and I also don't want to show the inquiry, but because not most of them have actually made the inquiry, because the guys that make inquiry are the ones that will get the response, right? So these are the ones that order the product, right? That's why I'm showing them here. Now those are the fields that I hid. Now the filter I had was that shipping region is any of within Europe or outside Europe. What this means is that the only guys that will show on this field in this particular view are the guys that have the shipping region of whether it is within or outside Europe. And you cannot have a shipping region if you have actually ordered the product. I found that I could not add product ordered as a filter. So I would have loved to put product order exists, right? That would have been the best filter. But since I was not able to do that, I was like, okay, let me just add shipping region is either of within Europe or outside Europe. So that's exactly how I created these fields. So now I can wonderfully see all of the fields full here, and I can go back and still see my customer database so full. So still chill, right? So what we are going to do now is to use this particular database, right? I'm going to delete this record because I'm going to use it again. And if I delete this record, I'm going to use it 2 times. I'm going to use it again. First, we're going to register, and then after we register, we'll make an inquiry. Or better still, let's make an inquiry first, and then see if we are going to show here, and then we'll delete the inquiry, register, then make an inquiry, and then we just to see exactly how the workflow runs. So the first thing I want to do is to make an inquiry, right? So I'm going to use one of the emails let me use this email, right? So I'll just come over here, and then I'll put my stuff here, making an inquiry. So I'll just ask for, and I'll just say hello there. I'll just ask for any product, or better still, I can just ask for which payment method. Let's look for something. Let me an FAQ. Can I cancel? Let's look this. Let's use this. Right. So let's use this particular stuff. I paste it. Right? So can I cancel or modify my order after placing it? So if I send this particular record, now what happens is that a record will be created in this CRM, but it will not show here because I said it should show only the guys that have actually ordered the product, but it is going to show on the other in the order table. So let's just wait for now. The email we did. Let me show you something about the email. If you check the email that we have here, you can see something. If I zoom in, you see something like 2 minutes and something that looks like a clock. So what that means is that this particular trigger is a polling trigger, right? It's quite different from this one. As you see, if you look at this one, it looks like I wish I could zoom in further. Let me zoom in and zoom in and zoom in again. So you can see that it looks like more of like a lightning, right? So it's an instant trigger. That means once it happened, once the form is submitted, it comes here immediately. But if you check this one, the one I am showing you, I have to zoom in again, zoom in, zoom in, and zoom in. You see that it looks more like a clock, and you see something like 2 minutes. That means it's a polling trigger. It polls every 2 minutes. What that means is that every 2 minutes, it goes and check my email and see if an email has been sent. So it's not going to happen instantly. It happens after 2 minutes. So after 2 minutes, if it sees that an email has been received, then it will trigger this particular. So let's see if we have gotten a response from that one. Yeah, can you see I've gotten one? And then you see, hello, you can cancel or modify your order within 24 hours of placement. If you need assistance with this, please feel free to reach out to customer support team. Is there any other thing? So we have gotten that response. Now, another thing I want to verify is that where did it store this particular bad boy? Now, so as you can see that we don't have it in our Eurohive field here. So let's check our customer database if we have it there. So you can see that we have it here. Here, can I cancel? Right? Can you see that? That's chill. That's the first thing we want to verify. So what we do is that I want to delete this particular view again. So after we do this, we are now going to register. I mean, we are going to make an order. So after we make an order, you see that it will show on the normal database, right? And then after we make that order, we'll now make an inquiry so that you can see exactly how it looks like. So let's delete this bad boy. Now, we have deleted it, right? If we come over to this, so we want to make a response now. I'm going to use my name. I'm going to use the email I used at the same time. I'm going to choose quite a lot of products. Yeah, this bad boy. So I'm going to use quite a lot of products, right? And I'm going to choose within Europe, place the order. This is an instant trigger. It's going to get in fast. I'm not going to see it here, right? Because it's not an inquiry, but I'm going to see it in the table, right? Because it fulfills everything that is here. Can you see? It's in the table, right? My inquiry, the message ID has been added. If I go back and check the database, it's not going to be there, right? Because that's like what I set it to be. So one thing I want to do is that so that you can see. So after we have done this particular stuff, we can now try to like make an inquiry. So if you made an inquiry, it will now pop up in that particular place, right? So let's make an inquiry. Same stuff that we did, but this time we're going to ask another question. So let's look for the question that we can ask. Let's say, do you offer free shipping? Something like that. And I'll come over here and yes, this is the workflow that happened 1 minute after that one. Although it's supposed to be like 1 day. Now you can see that I don't know why it's happening now, but I'm happy that it actually happened so that I can see exactly what happens. So you can see that we have thanks for reaching out. You can cancel blah 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 blah. If you have any question, blah blah blah. This is like after the entire process has happened, right? But let's just go back to what we want to do and then just make the stuff we want to do. So let's say making an inquiry. So I'll just say something like hello there, right? And then I'll just paste that bad boy. Do you offer free shipping? And then I'll send it. Remember, it is not an instant trigger. It triggers only 2 minutes, right? In 2 minutes. Now, since you see here, we don't really have anything in database here. We don't have anything, right? But as once the 2 minutes has been we can now find stuff here. So let's check. I'm going to check intervals to see if the 2 minutes this is the one we got now. So I'm just waiting for next one, right? If you like this particular stuff, don't forget to like, share, follow and subscribe to this channel. We are going to be doing a lot of Zapier make.com tutorials and things like workflow building, AI automation and all that. That's exactly what this channel is all about. Now I think we should have it here already. It's not here yet. It's like slightly, just about a minute. Let me pause and just wait for it to come. Yeah, sorry, I was checking the wrong email. It actually dropped already. As you can see, hi there. Here's Eurohive offer free shipping for select items for orders. Blah blah blah. This is what the response will be. So now let's check if we have our stuff recorded in database. As you can see, we have it in database. So this is a very nice workflow. So instead of like having so I can delete this particular table, it's not needed at all, right? Instead of having all of your workflows in about different tables, you can actually have them in the same table, right? And then create different views, right? So that you can view it. It will not be scanty. It will be very organized. And as you can see here, it's not scanty. It's nice. It's very organized and it's very chill. So that's like all of what I want to. The last workflow is the one that once the particular stuff is created or updated, delays for 1 minute, makes this particular stuff and sends. So I have something like text. Let me show you. Yeah, I don't think I've walked you through this. So so after that 1 minute, so once something has been updated, right, we have um, a delay of 1 minute, right? After that 1 minute, we have this wonderful prompt that we here that says these are all the details, do all that you can. And then one thing I did was that I had to split the full name into, I use Formatter. If you don't know how to use the split watch my video, I'll also link the video of Formatter here so that you can watch. So we have I split the stuff, space is the separator, and I split it into the first name and the last name. Now the reason why I'm doing that is so that I can make it more personal, right? So I added the body as HTML, right? Used a breaking stuff here, HTML. I put the name, so I'm putting hi Ayobami so that it is much more personalized, and then the body of the stuff. So this is like 1 day after they have made their inquiry, just telling them more that okay, we have made an inquiry about something, and would you like to continue or something like that. So I just hope you are able to like learn so much about from this video. See you guys in the next one.